This is the After Party, live with Kim McAllister. Pick a couch, grab a drink, and settle into the conversation.
There it is. Hello. I'm here. I really am here. Hi, everybody. It is the After Party Live, and thanks for being here. I'm grateful. Sorry it took so long to get over here. It was a long Mark Thompson show today, so we went a little bit longer, and I'm glad that you stuck with me, so thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Almost. No, I just forgot to click the button to make myself appear on the screen. It happens. Can you hear me? Can you see me? Is everything okay? I think we're moving forward, right? Yeah. Hi, Mindy. Huge thank you already right out of the gate. You know, Mark talks about the Hall of Fame. I have my own little Hall of Fame over here, and that is consistently you guys support the show and you give me leeway to get over here and get things done and get things on. And then you have things like this with Wes, who's always supporting every day. Throwing five, making sure the show keeps going and that I'm supported and that, you know, things are still able to continue. Your efforts are noticed and appreciated, and I just thank you so much, Wes, for doing that. And I'm glad that Super Chat and Super Stickers are live here again on YouTube. It's really kind of exciting. Also, you can find the PayPal link at the show description and in the About tab on YouTube. There's a live link. Also, thanks to Wes for that. All right, so what a show and what a lot going on politically. So we're not, oh, love you too. Thank you. That's so nice. You guys are, see, it's the supportive nature. We're surrounded in this world right now that just seems so negative and full of uncertainty and darkness looming at the edges. And to come here to have this positive place, I love it. It's the highlight of my day. So we're not going to get bogged down in that. We're going to get to the good stuff. I have a lot of videos to show you today, so we'll do that. Oh, yeah, it is not the weather for boiling macaroni. It is. I know you get mad, Teacher Lori, when I say it's going to be a hot one, but hot is right. Okay, let's start with this story. I have the first story to talk with you about today would be this one about a sheep sanctuary, and I thought it was just really sweet, and the sheep are so cute. So let's check this out. Here it is.
A runaway sheep turned local celebrity in Washingtonville is now safe after rescuers say the animal escaped from slaughter. Our Blaze Gomez has the exclusive story.
It's not every day you see a random sheep in your yard.
I don't really know what to do. Hi.
But that's exactly what happened in Washingtonville.
The sheep has been seen roaming through neighborhoods here for weeks and has become quite the Facebook celebrity.
Sheep Watch 24. The kids love it.
Sheep tracker, and it just brings the community kind
of
sheep
together. Tracker, you said?
Yeah, sheep tracker on Facebook. They have it all over in different spots.
Folks in town shared their sheep sightings on Facebook and nicknamed him Waldo.
There's got to be someone's animal.
They say the animal's been spotted everywhere, from Main Street
in the candy store in town
to Route 94. But Waldo's travels have come to an end. He was taken in by a local family and is soon to be headed to the Woodstock Farm Sanctuary for a less adventurous life. Rescuers there say Waldo popped up in town after he escaped from a local slaughter operation. And while folks are glad he's safe, they say looking for Waldo was fun while it lasted.
Instead of Washingtonville Wizards, we're the Washingtonville Sheep now.
Blaze Gomez.
Hi.
News 12.
I love that. Hi.
It is really sweet to see the community coming together and trying to figure out how to save that sheep. And he managed to make it free from the doom that was expected. So that's really, really a nice story. I have another story, and this one was sent to me by Kathy O. And she saw the story about farm animals being thrown a pajama party. And I don't think it really gets more after party live than this story. This happened in Cumberland, Maine, where ABC 7 in Maine has more information about this cute party.
It's one of those videos where you just have to watch. Yes, baby goats in pajamas having a party. It's at a farm in Cumberland, Maine, and the footage was captured by Hope Hall, published on her YouTube channel. The caption reads, quote, "Goats in pajamas with bubbles. Why? Why not? Life can be heavy." An estimated 60 playful little goats born on the farm each spring. The farm's YouTube channel features a wealth of videos showing the daily life and adventures of the farm's inhabitants. I feel like we just streamed this, our ratings would be magnificent.
They're a lot cuter than the cicada cam.
Yeah, they are, right.
Say that.
I mean, if you put pajamas on a goat, they're adorable.
They really are adorable. I mean, if that doesn't boost your spirits on this Friday, I don't know what will. How cute is that? All right, enough about animals. Let's talk about this traffic stop. Kind of an interesting one. This is a traffic stop that was made in Oklahoma, and I'm sure the officer was like, what in the Sam hell is going on? It's kind of a UFO looking contraption. Yeah. It's a bizarre UFO shaped vehicle that was traveling through Oklahoma, Missouri, when it was stopped by an Oklahoma Highway Patrol trooper. Yeah, the OHP said on social media the trooper, Ryan Van Vleck, stopped this driving saucer on the Turner Turnpike because it had an obstructed tag. Really? That's the only thing that led you to stop this thing? There are two people inside. They were on the way to the annual UFO festival in Roswell, New Mexico. Officer Van Vleck, or Trooper Van Vleck, decided not to issue a citation. He let the driver and the passenger go with a warning. They posed for a couple of photos. He said it's not every day you pull over a UFO. So, you know, it's funny because he's not the only officer that looked at this thing and thought, you know what? No. The same vehicle was stopped just a couple of days earlier by a deputy in Crawford County, Missouri. They also issued a warning because of the out-of-state registration. The sheriff's office said the driver was warned about our strict enforcement of warp speed on the interstate and was advised to keep phasers on stun only while traveling. Ha. I mean, if I saw that driving down the road, I would definitely do a double take as well. So, you know. How about this one? Speaking of UFOs in space, we saw this, people freaking out about things they see, I should say. We saw this the other day where people in Nevada saw one of these trails. You know, they thought there was a UFO in the sky, and it looked like a giant tadpole. Turned out to be a SpaceX rocket. Well, it looks like that's very similar to what happened here in this situation, but I have video to show you. They thought it was a suspected media over the Carolinas, and it too turns out, nope, it's just SpaceX.
We still keep getting photos in from viewers who wanted to see the Starlink images, the specifically SpaceX flight that happened. This is video from a WRL photographer showing that SpaceX flight carrying those Starlink satellites into the sky. But I want to show you some new images that we got into the newsroom here. This right here is from Dow Uzzle, and we're not quite sure where exactly this was taken, but beautiful shot here where you can clearly see the spaceship, or rather the spacecraft, being taken off in that regard. And then I want to show you just one more photo here. This is from Melissa Leonetti in Roseboro. A little blurry in that photo, but you can still make it out pretty well. Again, people have called us wondering, is this a comet? What is it? No, it's just a SpaceX flight carrying Starlink satellites into the atmosphere, into space, in fact. So if you have photos, feel free to go to WRL.com and then click that little hamburger menu in the top left corner.
Yeah, we don't need the instructions, but kind of a cool picture of what people were seeing. And I can understand why it would look a little funky, but I think that's the, you know, now in California especially, we look up and we see, the first thing I think of is SpaceX again. Speaking though of space, what about a commercial spacewalk? They've had some trouble with spacewalks recently, but now we may see the first commercial spacewalk take place. This is SpaceX again, attempting the first commercial spacewalk. The Polaris Dawn mission, trying to hit several major milestones like traveling 800 miles above the Earth. And SpaceX is set to launch this Polaris Dawn, their first in their, is it Polaris or Polaris? Polaris program. They announced this back in 2022. The Polaris Dawn is designed to push the limits, they say, of SpaceX's technology and help pave the way for a longer-term human presence in space. This is the first of 3 missions. Its launch date pushed back a few times over the years. Now it's set to launch no earlier than July 12th of 2024. So we'll see how it goes. But one of the missions plans the first commercial spacewalk. Very ambitious research on human health in space. They're going to equip the spacecraft with Starlink Wi-Fi, and hopefully they would like to reach an orbit of more than 800 miles above Earth, which would be the furthest out that a human has gone from our planet since the Apollo era. The SpaceX say they see this mission as an early pathfinder for their Starship spacecraft, which is kind of a sci-fi thought. It seems sci-fi to me, where they intend to carry hundreds of human beings into orbit, the moon, maybe even Mars. So this is kind of, thought. Right now it's a thought. Will it really happen? Well, this is the first step in that long process, is what they say. So the Polaris Dawn is set to use the SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule to carry 4 team members into space. And they will be the billionaire bankrolling it, Jared Isaacman. Also, former Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Scott Kidd Poteet, SpaceX engineers Sarah Gillis and Anna Menon. They'll spend 5 days in orbit around the Earth, flying so high above Earth that eventually they'll pass through the Van Allen radiation belts, which are rings of energetic particles trapped in the Earth's magnetic field. No one has gone through the Van Allen belt since Apollo ended in the early 1970s. So it'll be interesting. Now, one of the weirdest and wildest experiments that they're planning to do is trying to understand spaceflight associated neuroocular syndrome. It's called SANS. And they think it's one of the biggest challenges that is connected to long duration spaceflight. When an astronaut is in microgravity, the pressure of their spinal fluid, which is all the liquid surrounding your brain and important nerves, like the kind in your eyes and in your spine, that changes. And sometimes it can result in things like blurry vision. So this crew will try to measure the pressure with some non-invasive techniques. And Poteet, the colonel, plans to be the guinea pig for the first invasive measurement of spinal fluid pressure in space. He would have a measuring mechanism surgically implanted before he takes off on this flight. So it'll be interesting. And again, first commercial spacewalk as well. First ever to be done on a private mission outside the realm of NASA. So, I mean, maybe it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's just kind of another one of these milestones where here we go. Can we talk about this weight loss drug? Well, all of the weight loss drugs, really, like Ozempic and I don't know, what are the other ones? They're called GLP weight loss drugs. And a new study shows they can be linked to a rare blinding condition. These weight loss drugs are really trendy right now, and they do help people in a lot of different regards. We've seen a lot of people drop weight. Oprah comes to mind. And we've seen studies and done them here on the show, or reported them, about how these drugs can help with general overall health, cardiovascular health, right? Type 2 diabetes, all of these things. Now, people with diabetes that are being prescribed Ozempic, Wegovy, semaglutides, they call them, are more than 4 times more likely to be diagnosed with non-arteritic anterior ischemic optic neuropathy. Yeah. Say that 5 times fast. This according to new research that was reported today in the journal JAMA Ophthalmology. So those that are overweight were more than 7 times more likely to be diagnosed with this rare condition of blindness. And what the researchers say, Dr. Rizzo, Joseph Rizzo, who's the director of neuro-ophthalmology service at the Mass Eye and Ear in Boston, he said the use of these drugs has exploded throughout industrialized countries, and they have provided very significant benefits in many ways. But he said the future discussions between a patient and their physician should include this eye disease, not NAION, as a potential risk. He said it's important to appreciate the increased risk relates to a disorder that's relatively uncommon. So there is that. What happens with NAION is it typically causes sudden vision loss in one eye. No pain. It's thought to be associated with reduced blood flow to the front of the optic nerve where the nerve meets the eye. It is the most common cause of sudden blindness due to damage of the optic nerve, second only to glaucoma as an overall cause of optic nerve blindness. No treatments for it. Vision loss to the nerve damage is generally considered permanent, so you can't fix it. But NAION is really rare, occurring in about 10 of every 100,000 people. So they did this study after noticing 3 patients had been diagnosed with vision loss from NAION in just 1 week, and all 3 of them had been taking semaglutide, which was initially developed to treat type 2 diabetes, which comes with its own set of eye issues, right? But it's supposed to help control blood sugar. And it was later approved for weight loss after researchers found that it slowed appetite and digestion. Well, for this study, researchers went back and they looked at records of more than 17,000 mass eye and ear patients treated during the 6 years since Ozempic was approved for diabetes treatment. And then they compared the NAION rates in the people prescribed this medicine against those taking other diabetes or weight loss drugs. And that's when they discovered what they say are significant risk increases. They don't know why this exists, but they say the findings should be viewed as significant but tentative. Now they've got to do more studies, future studies needed to examine these questions in a larger, more diverse population. So Dr. Rizzo says this important information they didn't have before should be included in discussions between patients and doctors, especially if patients have other known optic nerve problems like glaucoma, or maybe there's a pre-existing significant visual loss from other causes. You won't be able to afford the loss of vision in one eye, right? Novo Nordisk, they make Ozempic and Wegovy here in the United States. They say the data in this new study doesn't establish a causal association between the use of semaglutide medications and this eye disease, NAION. They say they're all about patient safety, and they take all reports about adverse events very seriously. I bet they now have to do studies as well. So, while it doesn't prove that these weight loss drugs will cause sudden blindness, and while the sudden blindness issue is rare and your risk is just increased of it, my first thought when I saw this story is, God, what's better, being fat or being blind in one eye? Like, really? This is what I'm going to trade? So I don't know if that's how people approach it now, or if you just look at, okay, it's still a relatively low risk and my overall health would be benefited by the weight loss drug. I don't know how I would approach that, but I think it's definitely wise to talk to a doctor about this. Another health story. This is kind of a scary one. I mean, if you take this type of medication or microdosing, it's a candy, a microdosing candy. It's called All Diamond Shrooms brand. It's Shrooms. Shrooms, SHRUUMZ, Shrooms. They have chocolates and they have gummies, and they're now being recalled. They were recalled last month because these products contain toxic levels of muscimol, which is a chemical found in some mushrooms, and it can cause seizures, involuntary muscle contractions, and a loss of consciousness, among other things. They had at least 48 illnesses linked to these edibles reported in 24 states as of Monday. 27 of those patients were hospitalized. There's one potential death associated with this. So food safety officials with the federal government are now investigating this potential death linked to these microdosing shrooms chocolates and candies that have just sickened all these people. And it's scary. The American Poison Centers put out a statement saying it's received 82 reports of exposure associated with these shrooms products made by Diamond, including, again, 48 cases of severe illness. All but two sought medical attention for this. The people that were sickened, according to the FDA, said they had a variety of severe symptoms: seizures, central nervous system depression, agitation, abnormal heart rate, nausea, vomiting. I mean, here you think you're microdosing some type of shrooms product to mellow you out, and all of a sudden, bam, your heart starts beating fast and you're shaky and weird. Diamond Shrooms is instructing its customers not to eat the products because of this investigation. They say that the people who became ill from eating their products ate the entire chocolate bar, and some products containing higher levels of muscimol than normal. So they're thinking the people didn't look at the package and where it says, only 1 or 2, and they just ate a bunch. Meanwhile, the FDA is recommending don't eat it, sell it, or serve any flavor of Diamond Shrooms brand chocolate bars, cones, or gummies. Those in possession of this item are asked to either discard it or return it to the company for a refund. So, a lot of vape shops sell these, according to this article. Smoke and vape shops, and some retail stores as well. So, yeah, dangerous. That's not the reaction that you were hoping for. Remember the Stonehenge story where these activists came out, they're protesting fossil fuel, and they decided that it was a good idea the day before the summer solstice to throw powdered orange paint on Stonehenge. And then they wore their little shirts, this Just Stop Oil shirts, and they sat down right in front of their handiwork there. So both of those people were arrested. Here's what it looked like when it was being tossed. Crazy. I mean, it still makes me mad. My blood boil to just look at it. Well, now it's not only those 2 people who were arrested for the initial paint throwing. Now there's a 3rd person that is also being arrested in connection with this. This is a man in his 30s from Essex who was detained by the police, arrested on suspicion of aiding and abetting criminal damage, aiding and abetting unauthorized entry and damage to an ancient monument, and aiding and abetting aggravated trespass. He's out on bail. But here's some interesting details that I was not aware of when the story first came out. And I love that people were around during this and they tried to stop the protesters. This happened on June 19th. And now we know that there were people that were as mad about it as I am that saw it happen, and they tried to drag the protesters away from Stonehenge as this is happening. Video footage showed 2 people wearing these Just Stop Oil shirts, which again is a goal I could get behind, right? You want to be more environmental. You want to decrease our dependence on oil. You want to move to other forms of energy. Sure, that sounds great. Do you have to deface and damage something that we should try to protect, this monument? Wild. So they run up to this structure with canisters spraying this powdered paint. Several stones were covered in the substance before these protesters stopped and sat cross-legged on the grass. Just Stop Oil said their whole point was to demand that the UK government agreed with the plan that other countries have signed on to end the extraction and burning of oil and gas and coal by 2030. But after this protest, which originally we heard, okay, well, the paint's just going to wash away. It's all going to be fine. It wasn't permanent, right? Well, English Heritage, which is the group, they said experts quickly removed the powder from the stones because there was a risk that it could harm rare lichens that grow on these stones. They do say there appears to be no visible damage from the paint, but the act of removing it could erode the fragile stone and damage the lichens. So, I mean, I'd like to think lichens grow back and that things are strong, but the fact that you would do this and risk damaging something that so many people are fascinated by and enjoy, some part of humanity that we try to understand and protect, it makes me not want to have anything to do with supporting the folks from Just Stop Oil, which is kind of a bummer, because I would say that most of the time we could find common ground and I could agree. But look at what they have done. This is craziness. Now, they've done it to beautiful, famous paintings and pieces of art in museums, but all the art is covered by glass. So is it annoying that they have to wipe paint off of the glass, protective glass covering? Sure, it's totally annoying. But there's no glass protective covering here. And so you're doing more than making a point. You're doing potential damage. And that is where you lose me for whatever it is you're fighting. No. Let's go to the creepy side of life, shall we? And talk a little bit about lab-grown human brain tissue is now being used to control a robot. No. Not kidding you. Lab-grown human brain tissue. It brings up, for me, a lot of issues about ethics and whether these are things we should be doing. Do we mess around with humanity? Do we mess around with things that make us uniquely human? And I don't know if I'm okay with this type of thing. But here's the story. The scientists have been able to merge human brain-like tissue with a computer chip in order to help teach small robotic systems how to navigate obstacles, track and grasp items. The steps to make your own brain-on-chip are open source online. You can find it. So if you know how to cultivate three-dimensional stem cell organoids and you're versed to attaching them to electrode chips, well, this is the story for you, I guess. I mean, you can't make it up. This is the future. I guess we have arrived. Here we are. Creepy and crazy. Researchers first grew brain organoids from human pluripotent stem cells more than a decade ago. But for years, they could only do it in a two-dimensional sample, which really limited the function of all of this. More recently, they have been able to grow three-dimensional organoids. And that growth is expanding the potential of computing power, of harnessing bioengineered tissue's neural activity alongside of computer chips. These are the computers. Look at that. These are the robots. So the latest organoid intelligence advancements come from this team of collaborators at Tianjin University. They have a brain-computer interaction, human-computer integration lab at the Southern University of Science and Technology. Their open-source brain-on-chip intelligent complex information interaction system, or they call it MetaBoc, is the first of its kind. And they're hoping it could pave the way for more complex human brain-computer interfaces, BCIs, brain-computer interface. I think we're going to hear that term so much more. BCIs. They say this could even one day repair neurological damage. So some medical implications here as well. And here's how they did it. After growing brain-like tissue in a culture, the team grafted their organoid onto an electrode chip that allowed it to interpret external electrical signals. So this chip is reportedly capable of directing robotic systems to navigate environments and grip objects after simulated training sessions. Researchers integrated machine learning algorithms into its organoid-enhanced neural computing network, marking a notable achievement in furthering explorations into hybrid intelligence. Their MetaBoc metabot chip enables the robot to interact with the outside world through encoding and decoding and stimulation feedback. Is anybody creeped out yet? No? It looks like silly putty, this organoid, and it's mounted within the head of a bipedal robot. You can see it there, that little wad of pink. That's lab-grown brain tissue, human-like lab-grown brain tissue. They say this is meant as a model for what future OI machines might look like. Before they do that, there's a bunch of hurdles they have to overcome. But they hope that brain organoids can help restore brain functionality for people living with neurological issues or decreased mobility due to stroke. It's interesting. They also published a paper in the journal Brain. And I don't know. This is all just too creepy to me. What do you think? I'm going to the chat. I'm going in. They remind me of Rock'em Sock'em robots. They do. You're totally right. They do look like that. Gordon's like, yeah, creepy. The blob brain. It's alive. I'm freaked out, Calvin, because you're so right. Mars says, so the chip controls what the neurons do. Slippery slope to using small wireless signals to control human neurons, no? Well, that's what they would like to do for people that have neuropathy or medical issues. They say this could help. Who's controlling what? I mean, I want medical advancements, but I don't know if I want it at the expense of tampering with human brain tissue. I don't know. I don't know. Wes says, so if it's organic and using AI, is it alive or not? We're walking a fine line. Completely agree. A very fine line. Yeah. I don't know. Teacher Lori, Ranting Teacher, says, honestly see a lot of positives here for people with brain injury from various things. Could be, but again, at what cost? At what cost? I don't know. Robots. Ranting Teacher says it's the AI everyone is scared of when biological-based robots come. Okay, so let me just to come full circle with a story we had recently. So what we have is organoid, lab-grown human brain tissue in a giant wad controlled by a computer chip. And then over the face of this thing, remember the skin that's being grown in a lab that can stretch? We have the human skin, lab-grown skin, underneath a lab-grown human-like brain. I don't know. I'm feeling ooged out. Really ooged out. Yeah. I don't know what that means. LLM AI interface. But thank you for the comment, Wes. It's going over my head there with that. Well, I mean, hey, I guess this is the future. There are going to be these studies, but I don't know. What they did say is that it'll be a while until, they have a lot of work to do. So I guess there's that. Like, we're not going to see these, knocking on the door, walking down the street. But still, it's always a glimpse of what's to come. Can we talk about naloxone for a moment? Naloxone is this medicine where if somebody's overdosing from a certain drug, you give it and it can reverse the effects of the overdose, and it's relatively immediate. It's saved a lot of lives. And if you give it and the person wasn't overdosing from that specific drug, no harm, no foul, because it doesn't hurt you. All right? Well, today, U.S. researchers said they've identified a new drug that could do even more. It's a supercharged naloxone. They're calling it Narcan, which is the standard overdose antidote. But this team from Washington University School of Medicine in St. Louis, Stanford University, and the University of Florida found this method of making naloxone stronger and longer lasting, capable of reversing the effects of opioids in mice at low doses without worsening withdrawal symptoms. They have the results of this they've published in the journal Nature. And they say it's a proof of concept study that shows combining naloxone with a molecule that modifies the response of opioid receptors on neurons in the brain boosts naloxone's overdose reversing ability to deactivate those receptors and for significantly longer. They say naloxone is a lifesaver, but not a miracle drug. It has limitations. This, though, could be a game changer. The study authors say many people who overdose on opioids need more than one dose of naloxone before they're out of danger. And this is proof, they say, that they can make naloxone work better, last longer, and be more potent. So, I mean, that's great. The team discovered the compound described in their paper as 368 from working through a library of 4.5 million molecules in the lab in search of those that bind to the opioid receptor with naloxone already tucked in to the receptor pocket. And they found 368 made naloxone 7.6 times more effective at inhibiting the activation of the opioid receptor, in part due to naloxone remaining in the binding pocket 10 times as long as when it was given on its own. They said the compound itself, 368, doesn't bind well without naloxone. Stanford postdoc scholar Evan O'Brien said, "We think naloxone has to bind first, and then compound 368 is able to come in and cap it in place." They have a long way to go, they say, but the results are really exciting. And they're hopeful that with this knowledge, that they can save even more lives. So that's good research, right? I mean, because nobody wants anyone to die of a drug overdose or anything else. We've talked a little bit before about tattoo ink. And now we've got another study about tattoo ink. And it shows that there's possibilities for bacteria contamination. This study, they say, is a first of its kind. And they say they detected bacteria in commercial tattoo and permanent makeup inks, demonstrating they could cause human infections. Now, a lot of people have tattoos and say, "Oh, I was fine. I got my tattoo, had it for a while. Everything's fine with me. It's okay." But for the sake of reporting the study, and for anyone you know who may be looking at getting a tattoo now, it may be helpful to be armed with this information. The researchers at the National Center for Toxicological Research at the US FDA say the findings reveal that unopened and sealed tattoo inks still can harbor anaerobic bacteria known to thrive in low oxygen environments, which includes the dermal layer of the skin alongside aerobic bacteria. It suggests that contaminated tattoo ink could be a source of infection from both types of bacteria. If you want more information on this study, which was published Tuesday in the Journal of Applied and Environmental Microbiology, which is a journal of the American Society for Microbiology, they say their goal was to gauge the prevalence of microbial contaminants in tattoo inks in the U.S. market. They used a standard incubator and anaerobic chamber to test the ink solutions for bacteria. The incubator was used to look for aerobic bacteria, which needs oxygen to thrive. The chamber provided conditions ideal for bacteria that don't need oxygen. So the team tested 75 tattoo inks from 14 manufacturers, and they said in all, about 35% of tattoo or permanent makeup ink sold in the United States was contaminated with bacteria. So these microbial infections aren't the only issue with these inks. Other complications like inflammatory, allergic reactions, toxic response are other issues. You don't hear about it very often, though. You hear people having a tattoo, getting a tattoo, and it's fine. But the study author says, in light of our study results, we'd like to emphasize the importance of continuously monitoring these products to ensure the microbial safety of tattoo ink. I mean, why not? Who wants a bunch of tattoo ink that's all crudded up? But it should be monitored and made sure that it's safe. Absolutely. So there's a study that's done every year, and it ranks the most and the least educated places in the world in California, the most educated cities study. And while I don't believe education makes you smart or not, I mean, there's a lot of people who dropped out of high school or didn't go to college that are very good thinkers, ask very good questions, and sometimes I think we put a little too much emphasis on these things. It's still interesting to see what the makeup is of certain cities around the U.S. and around the world. So, I'm trying to get a picture for you up. Let's see if I have a picture of just plain old California. But this survey looked at the state of California and who, has which cities. I can't find a picture, so I'm just going to move on. There it is. Hello. Hi. Hello, everybody. Which cities had the most educated and the least educated people? And it was done by Wallet Hub, which is a financial services company who does all of these types of studies. And they compared 150 most populated cities in the United States, and they graded them then based on a formula that included the share of adults with high school diplomas and college degrees, along with the quality of education. It weighted racial and gender gaps as well. For the second straight year, the most educated city in America, Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is where the University of Michigan is located. Number 1. Number 2, San Jose, Sunnyvale, Santa Clara metro area, which makes a lot of sense because that's where all the tech workers are located, right? A lot of those folks have advanced degrees. Number 3, Washington, Arlington, Alexandria, D.C., Virginia, Maryland, West Virginia area. 4 is Durham, Chapel Hill, North Carolina. 5 is Madison, Wisconsin. That's another college town. 6 is San Francisco, Oakland, Berkeley. 7 is Raleigh and Cary, North Carolina. 8 is Austin, Round Rock, Georgetown, Texas. 9 is Boston, Cambridge, Newton, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, another heavy college area. 10 is Seattle, Tacoma, Bellevue, Washington. So those are the most. Some other California cities that ranked pretty high. 23 was San Diego, Chula Vista, Carlsbad. 49 on the list, Sacramento, Roseville, Folsom. 52 on the list, Santa Rosa, Petaluma. Shout out Petaluma. 64, Santa Maria, Santa Barbara. 92, Oxnard, Thousand Oaks, Ventura. 121, Vallejo. Yeah, so there you go. Salinas came in at 142. Stockton at 145. So there you have it. So I guess those were other California rankings were kind of lower on the list. The last one on the list, 150, Visalia. Now there you go. But they didn't, the top 10 I read you are the most educated cities in the United States. So there you go. Interesting. I don't know what it means exactly. But now you have the information. So there you have it. Can we talk about how gratitude leads to longer life? I really love this story because I believe your outlook on life has a lot to do with the quality of your life. And so this study kind of fits that gratitude would kind of lay the groundwork for your mental health. And if you have a lot of stress, if you have a lot of issues, then maybe that weighs down and can affect your physical health as well. Well, a new study shows that living longer is tied to gratitude for positives in life. The study done out of Harvard. The research by the T.H. Chan School of Public Health in Boston, published today in JAMA Psychiatry, say an attitude of gratitude for the positives in life may help older adults live longer. In this study of older U.S. female nurses, those who maintained a grateful outlook had a decreased risk of death. People in the highest level of gratitude, compared with those in the lowest level, had a 9% reduced hazard from death from any cause. When researchers considered specific causes of death, gratitude lessened the risk of death from cardiovascular disease by 15%. And the findings persisted after researchers adjusted for socio-demographic characteristics, social participation, religious involvement, physical health, lifestyle factors, cognitive function, and mental health. So in addition to reducing risk factors and illnesses, there's this increasing interest in positive psychological factors that may enhance health well-being in older adults. And gratitude may be one such positive factor. That, according to the study's lead author, who is Ying Chen. He is a research scientist in the Department of Epidemiology at the Harvard Chan School. He said, gratitude is a facet of positive psychological functioning that may be particularly relevant for generating a sense of meaning and connection among older adults. Okay, can we take a moment and be grateful? Find something, one thing, right now, one thing that you're grateful for. I love it. I will tell you right now, I am grateful for every single person in this chat. Every single one of you. I am grateful for you, for your support, for you always being here, for trying to help me with this show, for sticking with me when we went through some tough times on the show, for all of these things, for the support, both sending me stories, financial contributions. You're spending your time taking these moments. I am so grateful. It's a big part of my life and my day, all of you, and you make me grateful. I'll throw out my kids. I'm so grateful. Every night, their rooms are opposite each other on the side of a hall. And every night when I walk down the hall, I put my one hand on each doorknob and I think to myself how grateful I am for both of them. Grateful to live in the Bay Area where my rights aren't taken away yet. Grateful for my husband. Grateful for my family. You can find some things. Grateful. Grateful for Mark Thompson, who pulled me along for his show. Grateful for Nikki Maduro, who keeps me on her show. I'm grateful. You can find them. Even if you have depression or you have struggles or, money's tight or whatever the problems are, health is bad, struggles and issues that you wish you didn't have to deal with. Find something to be grateful for. The research says the findings in this study pave the way for the future investigations into the roles of gratitude in enhancing health and longevity in older adults. Well, gratitude has been associated with lower risks of mental distress, as well as greater emotional and social well-being. Its impact on physical health remains less clear. What's interesting to me, and I think I've mentioned this before, sometimes when I get really stressed out, stressed that I'm going to be late to something, or that I'm moving too fast, or that, I got to get all this stuff done, and I'm physically moving faster, and my mind's moving at a million miles a minute, it can manifest itself in my body, and I kind of feel it in my tummy. I get kind of oogie in my tummy. It makes sense to me that our stress levels and our mental health manifest in a physical way. So, Dr. Chen said, to the best of our knowledge, no studies to date have examined the association between gratitude and mortality. So they conducted this study hoping to begin addressing this knowledge gap. To do it, they looked at self-reported questionnaires and medical records of 49,275 U.S. older female registered nurses who participated in this study. They had a 6-item gratitude questionnaire. It was widely employing a measure of an individual's tendency to experience a grateful effect. Do you feel better by thinking about what you're grateful for? Do you? Because I do. I feel so much better right now. Like, yeah, I'm grateful. Hey, you guys probably think I'm so wacky. Information on mortality came from the National Death Index, state statistics records, next of kin reports, the Postal Service, and doctors who reviewed death certificates, and med records confirmed the causes of death. So here's the result. Among the participants who averaged 79 years at the study's outset, researchers identified 4,608 incident deaths over 151,496 person years of follow-up. That's weird, but okay. The figures included 1,364 deaths from cardiovascular disease, 273 from cancer, 406 from respiratory disease, 492 from neurodegenerative disease, 114 from infections, 70 injury, and 1,889 from other causes. So, they said further research with more respective samples or representative samples will be necessary to replicate these findings, because this study was limited primarily to white nurses. Mostly it was white ladies. The relationship, they said, between higher levels of gratitude and lower risk of death does, though, align with established factors that influence longevity. I'm going to the chat because I want to see what you guys are grateful for. And I know I'm going long, and I'm sorry. My bad. I'm sorry. But let's take a look at what you guys had to say. I'm interested. Liz is grateful to be able to have these shows and interact with the chat community. Awesome. Same for Mindy. Me and Nikki and Mark and Albert and John and David and Dave, and hugs and thanks to all of you. Depression kind of eliminates the ability to be grateful. I don't think that's true. I think it may be more difficult. I think you have to really push yourself to go there, but I'm certain that you can find at least one thing to hold on to be grateful for. Not necessarily a silver lining, but one thing that's good in your life. I can tell you that I'm grateful for you, Lori. I am grateful for your brain, for your comments, for the way you always send really cool stories. I don't always have time to respond, but I'm always grateful to see them, and I read everything you send. So in this case, if I were you, maybe I would say, I am grateful for having the ability to use reason and logic, and for not being somebody that isn't a good thinker. Hold on to that. That's part of why I'm grateful for you, because I love the way you think. Why can't you be grateful for that too? And I get that depression gets in the way of that, but it just means you have to try harder to find those things. Does that make sense? Yeah. Walter is grateful for the Grateful Dead. Right on. Mama's grateful for her AC. Isn't that awesome? I mean, it's so good. Cindy, grateful to have relaxing stories from the after party. Love it. Yeah. I'm just grateful. Just grateful. All right. Okay. I know. I've kept you guys long enough. Here I am, going like the Energizer Bunny. I'll wrap it up. But try to find something to be grateful for today. You know, try to find that one thing. Despite issues and struggles and all the stuff that, you know, we all go through, some of us more than others, I just feel like, yeah, I think Ranting Teacher is Lori the Teacher. Yeah, I believe so. I hope I didn't out you. I hope you weren't trying to keep it a big secret. Sorry. My bad. I'm sorry. Please, as viewfinders say, push the thumbs up to say you like the After Party Live. I know you guys already have my back on that as well. Thank you for the contributions. Thank you for spending the afternoon and the time. Do want to thank again, Wes, also Deidre, who came in with $5. Yes, you are now monetized. I needed a positive place this week, Deidre. Thankful for Deidre too, and all of her stories about Maui, and the visual image I have of her fixing up her little condo there, and taken in the beach and the waves, the sounds of the waves. Thank you. Thank you to everyone again who participates here. Okay, tomorrow, the Nikki Medora show is dark. The Mark Thompson show is dark. And the After Party Live is dark. So July 4th, we won't have shows, but all three of us will be back on Friday with more shows. So one day off, and then we're right back at it. So programming note there if you didn't know that that was going to happen. For now, I hope you guys, despite everything going on with America and how it can feel really depressing with Supreme Court decisions and questions about President Biden and the ugliness of Trump, in my opinion, it feels like America's kind of sliding down the drain a little bit. Find a reason to be grateful, right? There are a lot of places worse than this. So let's celebrate the 4th of July, do something fun, and do something to find the gratitude. I'll see you guys on Friday.
The After Party Live would like to thank the following contributors and viewers like you.
Sure, why not? Let's do trivia on Friday.